exactly. That's a new.
Yeah, Archie,
Been
who are
there for a
you?
while.
That's a Mr. Paper round. That is. Someone on the paper round.
My job
What's
is
your
not done.
occupation?
Yeah.
Again?
Come on. What is it?
Well,
What is it?
Come on.
Huh?
Touch me.
Huh?
Which one?
Oh.
Ooh,
How many
Man.
do
he's
you
got some
have?
side
Man
hustles
of
going
many
on.
occupations.
Crypto.
Crypto.
Nah.
No, not crypto.
Bitcoin.
No, Bitcoin.
All right. Welcome back to another video. Welcome
feel bad
back
for
to
you.
another video. All right. So this is another episode, and today we're going to be talking about leadership today. But before we start, we've got some random person in the corner here.
Who
Hi,
are
guys.
you?
Who are thou?
I'm Jess. Yep.
What, name an occupation. This is a.
I'm Jess, and
Any occupation.
I currently work at the Huts, which
Come
yeah,
on, Jess, talk to us, not the camera.
it's great. I don't know. Every time I've seen someone, they're looking at the camera. So,
Stare them
but
right in
I'll
the
talk
eye.
to you guys.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm Jess. I work at the Huts. Was there
Sorry, can you
today?
use your full birth
Oh,
name? Just
Tell us
Go.
about that pudding you
Jessina,
made.
sorry, my full birth name's
Oh.
Jessina.
Tell us
made
about
a
the pudding
pudding?
you made.
Oh
Let's hear
yeah,
about
we
that.
made like a Oreo waffle. That's pretty much it. Will scoffed it.
Did
He
he?
scoffed that. Yeah.
She
Wait, so
showed
like
me a
a
picture. It was
Oreo
delicious.
in the waffle, like
No, like a
made,
waffle. You know, like the
And then
waffles we get
Oreo.
for youth. 2 scoops of
Yeah.
vanilla ice cream,
and then like crushed
Oreo
Oreos.
crunch, chocolate sauce.
Yeah,
Some Halloween decorations.
beautiful.
Halloween.
Wait, yeah, Halloween.
Yeah, but
I don't think I want to sit
Do you
next
celebrate
to
Halloween? Let's talk about
just
that.
one or two pumpkins.
Pumpkin,
Pumpkins.
pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin.
It was. I think it was for the Instagram.
Insta.
I think
They
so.
love their Instagram
yeah,
posts.
they do. They're very.
They have some nice paninis, I heard.
Yeah.
They go
Not
crazy
allowed
on
to
that.
eat them though.
Something
Yes,
has
God.
changed since the last time I've been here.
You
I
engaged.
turned older.
So-
Oh,
Did you just say I got engaged?
Wait, when?
You eloped
I
too?
turned older.
Oh yeah, you're 23 now.
No,
Damn.
26.
Yeah, it really shows.
Yeah.
18.
18.
Ooh, whoa, happy birthday.
19.
Jess, sing that birthday.
No.
Guess my age down
That'll
below.
take too long.
Yeah, Jess, you're the oldest one here. How does it
Yeah.
feel?
Elder.
An elderly lady.
It's not much of a.
You get to ride buses for free, don't you?
Yeah, true. You
Wow.
you're at that
I'm not an OAP yet.
old
Old
bus.
age
person.
pensioner.
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 Do you have a pension?
No,
Why are you-
Surely.
I don't think so. Not.
Surely it's in the making. Well, that was a long time.
Sorry.
Whatever.
There's definitely a pension in the making.
Soon come.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Because like, what if you start your pension when you're like 5 years old? Your parents chip into it.
No, but
when
you
you're
can only start
older.
pension if
Something
you got a
every
job.
week.
Oh, only start when you have a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, your job
True.
pay for it.
All right. You guys ready to get into the nitty gritty?
The nitty
Sure.
gritty.
The nitty
Wait.
gritty.
I said that wrong. Into the nitty gritty.
The gritty.
Like Nacho Libre.
The nitty gritty.
Let's
Does he
get
say
to the
that in
nitty gritty. Yeah, he does.
What,
I can't remember
Escaleto
when.
or
No, Nacho.
I've never seen
Get-
that.
No, it's quite
Let's get to
disturbing
the
actually.
nitty gritty.
So today we're going to be talking about leadership, and we're going to be like touching on servant leadership a bit, because I feel like in the Bible there's so many situations and times when servant leadership's mentioned, say through like Moses, all these leaders, but especially through Jesus,
Yeah.
because that's the best leader we could look at. So just a question for like anyone here: what is servant leadership? Who's going to fight for it?
There's the biggest example where Jesus washed the disciples' feet. In the Bible, there's the prophecies of Jesus' first coming and then his return. So before people knew that he was coming the first time, it kind of all looks like one big picture. Our youth pastor, or 0 to 30 youth pastor, always says that prophecies are like a mountain range. You see them from a distance and you can't tell how far away they are. They all look like just one level plane, but they're actually like in different places. So all of the prophecies saying Jesus was going to like defeat the Roman Empire and he was going to stand on the Mount of Olives and it was split in two, and all of this like glorious stuff exalting Jesus. And then he came and he says to the disciples that he's going to wash their feet. So I think that's the main example of servant leadership, and it was counter to what they thought
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, going on that, I think. Sorry. So serious, isn't it? I think servant leadership is quite a strange concept within the world. Me and Nadia were talking earlier, and I remembered like one of our lectures we had, and it was talking about armchair leadership and then like servant leadership. And Pete put up that picture of the armchair leader sat back, like dictating the people he was leading, and then the servant leader was that leader in front of his team, guiding them and leading them. And I think servant leadership is definitely the opposite of that. And to lead as a servant, you yourself need to be a servant, and to become a servant leader, we need to be servant to the greatest leader. And I think that is really important, that we recognize who that is and his mission in our lives. And I think because when God's placed something on our heart, like whether that be leadership within youth or in business or wherever, like that has been placed on our heart and we have a passion for that. So I think, yeah, that's one of our greatest points as a servant leader, being able to be a servant and submit to God in what he has for us, and following Jesus's example within leadership, as you were saying. And yeah, because Jesus wants us to follow him, to be like him, to say your will, not mine, and to exchange the temporal for the eternal.
So in Zechariah 11, Zechariah is with God, and I can't remember it exactly, but God gives him 20 coins. No, I'm gonna look it up. Oh, there's hair all over the stage.
It's everywhere. We found a massive hairball earlier and it was disgusting. I don't know how
Cleaned
there's so
this
many
one
hair.
thoroughly.
When did you
Some
clean it? Oh, what, on
scrubbing.
Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
Must have just from the weekend, people whipping their hair around.
Yeah.
Getting crazy.
In Zechariah 11, Zechariah is with the Lord, and it says, "If it seems good to you, give me my wages, but if not, keep them." And they weighed out my wages 30 pieces of silver. Then the Lord said, "Throw it to the potter, the lordly price at which I was priced." And he's talking sarcastically, the lordly price at which I was priced by them, because it's obviously 30 silver coins is like barely anything. And then he's given this as his wages, and then God says, "Throw it to the potter." So he takes it and throws it into the house of the Lord, to the potter. And it's really cool because this is a prophecy towards Judas taking 30 silver coins for Jesus, and then he can't use the money out of guilt, so he throws it into the temple, and the temple don't use it because they call it blood money. You can't accept this. He throws it into the house of the Lord, which is the temple, and then they buy a piece of land from a potter, which is exactly what it says in there. But it goes further than that, because it was all planned that Jesus would be sold for 30 coins. And it's not just because it was a small amount, it's because in Exodus, right at the start, in the laws for a slave, it says if a slave is, it used the word gored, I'm not really sure, I think it's like killed. If a slave is killed by an ox, then the ox owner has to pay the slave owner 30 silver coins. So with Jesus being bought for 30 silver coins, it was basically saying that he's worth the same price as a slave would be if they just got killed by someone's ox. That's all you'd have to pay them. So it's basically saying that Jesus was the same price as a slave. So it was really intentional in the way that God or Jesus fully lowered himself to the price of a slave.
Because it says a lot in the Bible that God humbles the proud and exalts the humble.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
in that
stuff like
place of leadership, humbling ourselves, because often in a place of leadership, it's so easy to get in a prideful state because we can associate ourselves with the mission and sort of detach God from it and be like, oh, I'm the leader of this mission. Yeah, I lead this, I'm this. But and then in the end, we are not the mission. The mission is God's, but we are simply a vessel
The Great
pushing
Commission.
forward that Great Commission mission. And we need to check our hearts in place of leadership, because out of that pride can come sort of leading people in a half-hearted way, not filling ourselves up with the right things, but letting pride get to our head, because pride clouds our judgment a lot.
Yeah.
So in a place of leadership, that's when we need to check our heart the most and realize that we need to be leading out of a place of humility and caring for the flock in a way.
Yeah. I do think as well that whatever form of leadership like a person naturally takes on does show the position of their heart as well. Because like if we're not allowing God to lead us, then we're going to be led by things of this world.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which just, if our heart is on God, then our heart's going to reflect God. And if our heart's set on things of this world, then it's just going to reflect the opposite, which we don't want that to be shown in our leadership as servant leaders in church.
When you mentioned about he uses the humble, I was thinking about that chapter in Jeremiah 18, where it's talking about the potter and the clay. The people that we see as leaders is quite different from our perspective of Christianity, because when you think of a leader from the secular world, or like leaders like in high power, you think of someone who's like strong and like has a specific like vision. But with what God's looking for, he's looking for clay that's soft and moldable, so that we're obedient. Because when we're a leader that in a position that God's put us in, we need to just be a tool for him to use, and we can't let ourselves get in the way, because that's a trap. When you see yourself in the position, you see that you're in this position, then you start to think, oh, I got here by myself and stuff like that. It's that's in Ezekiel 27, where it's talking about you saw that you were beautiful, and you saw your pride, so I had to lower you. And it's the same thing. So if you get put in that position of power, there's always that trap or that temptation to see that where you are, and people are always saying like, oh, well done, you're doing great. So to see that and think that you put yourself there. And it says in Proverbs 29 verse 1, the one who stiffens their neck upon reproof will get broken by the reproof. And it's the same with the potter and the clay. If the clay is hard and God tries to mold it, it's going to break. It's not going to hurt him, it's going to hurt you if you're proud.
That's so good. I liked what you said about clay making ourselves available and willing to be molded.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying about reproof, sometimes like I get this sometimes. I don't want to be reproved. Like I say, oh, I want to be reproved, but in that moment, say in a place of leadership or any other scenario, like there's time when you're getting reproved, you're like, I don't really want to get reproved right now. But it's always looking back to that humility and be like, God, I'll be clay for you, and just like mold me, make me into the leader that you want me to be, make me into the like form me into a mission that you want me to go into, and just stuff like that, like making ourselves available for him to do that.
Yeah, doesn't it say somewhere that the foolish will ignore the rebuke of a righteous man? Is that like
somewhere in
linked to?
Proverbs.
Is that going off of the verse you said?
I think that's in Proverbs.
I think so. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, going back to like the clay and being able to be molded. I also think within leadership, we've also got to be able to set a culture and mold a culture, because culture reflects our leadership. And if there isn't a stable culture, or a culture where there's the ability for unhealthy habits to come in, then that isn't going to be a good environment where you want the people you're leading to be brought up into. So yeah, I think being able to mold a culture for whoever you're leading is a really important factor of leadership.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like in the Bible, you see loads of examples of like when Jesus calls his first disciples, he's like, "Come follow me, and I'll make you fishers of people," and all that. But you see that he had authority as well. And I was thinking about it like authority and leadership. Like obviously Jesus had authority. He was like Son of God, had the Holy Spirit and all that. And I was like search up difference between authority and leadership. Yeah, like I was saying, authority from a place of legitimate power from a certain position, and leadership is based on personal qualities and characteristics of an individual. I find that really interesting because you see Jesus have the authority, but he had those really intimate and personal connections with his disciples and the people he healed as well. And that's like a really important factor of leadership, to know your team, to know the people you lead on an intimate and personal level to be able to lead them. Like it's not necessarily about the position you're in or the what kind of authority you have, but the connections that you make in your team and those relationships to help like guide the team collectively as well. That makes sense.
It's like what you're saying earlier about the armchair leadership.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah,
of sitting from a
definitely.
place saying, oh, you do this, you do that. You're kind of just like overseeing, you're not really getting involved. And that links to servant leadership, getting involved, actually going with your team into things and doing it with them, because that builds up credibility, that builds up trust as well. So it's like being open to your team, and your team will be open to you as well. So like providing situations where you're able to be vulnerable with them, and that builds up trust, more community. And I feel like as you do that, the people that you're leading will become more sort of like enthusiastic and build up more of a like a culture, you said, of getting involved and like talking to each other and like discipling in a way, sort of like discipling downwards, like Jesus didn't lead from a way of saying, oh, do this, do this. No, he was like intimate with them and one-on-one with them.
He also showed them as well.
Exactly.
He didn't just say it, you could see it in his actions as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's exactly what discipleship is.
Yeah, 100%.
Like walking with people in their journey, supporting them, guiding them. And I think that's what we're called to do, be a discipler, fisher of man.
Well, I found it, and I don't know, there's a bookmark in it. I don't know why. I don't know why that's there.
That's the one from the charity shop.
Is that one of those tattoos that you stick on?
I just got
Do you have a
tattoos.
tattoo?
Is that a tattoo?
No.
Sure, it's a tattoo.
I don't know why that's there. But that was in the place that I was trying to find. It's actually Matthew 12. And it's when Jesus is talking about the greatest commandment. The story is that a scribe comes, don't know where the scribe is from. A scribe comes and hears them disputing with one another, and seeing that Jesus answered well, he asked him, which is the most important commandment? And he explains the most important commandment, which I think we spoke about this on the first podcast. Jesus answered with the most important commandment, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. And then the scribe hears that answer, hears that reproof, which is different, because it's different to what everyone thought. Everyone's thinking about 10 commandments, and Jesus is saying that the most important above everything is to love. So for them, that was reproof. And this person says, "You are right, teacher. You have truly said that he is one and there is no other besides him, and to love him with all your heart and all understanding and all strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself is much more than a whole burnt offerings and sacrifices." And Jesus sees that he grew from the reproof, and it made him wiser. And it says that when Jesus saw that he answered wisely, he said, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And that's like the whole summary of it. It's like God sees the humble, and he sees that he's just reproved this person, and he just took it and he got better through it. And he says that he's close to the kingdom of God. There is I was trying to find the proverb for ages, but it's the wise hear instruction and become wiser. I couldn't find where it was, but that's sort of the summary of it.
That's good though. Oh yeah, that's the background screen. It
love
always goes to
watching
that. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
We
We
waited last time to
But
see it.
it's still recording.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Still recording.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah, because I want to bring up the story where Jesus washed the disciples' feet again, because that's so like inspiring, and it's literally the core of like servant leadership. Because someone, a divine being, God, sent down in human form to come to our level and is washing the feet of sinners. Like the disciples were sinners also, they weren't perfect. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that story's so cool, that Jesus showed such humility there. He displayed that humility is one of the most important traits within leadership, that we're meant to humble ourselves. And
No, that's good though, because like it's crazy that Jesus would do that, but Peter knew that as well. Like Peter knew it was crazy. Like he was like, "Jesus, what are you doing? Like I should be washing your feet. Like what? Like I can't believe you're doing this." But Jesus was like, "No, I have to." Like he had to lower himself into that position. He had to wash their feet, had to be that servant for them. And it's like we were saying, like Jesus as an example, that's such an incredible example of servant leadership. Like Jesus coming down from earth, like he did so many miracles. He died on the cross for us, and he washed his disciples' feet. Like we could do all these great things. We could, I don't know, have a really good team, really solid team, be a really good leader, be all in it for God. But if we're not lowering ourselves to a similar position, I just think it's a really important thing to do, because like you were saying, like pride can appear, and all those, that kind of thing, like you were saying before, can happen. And it's just important for us to lower ourselves to that position.
Isn't that what you were saying though, Archie, in the last podcast? Like that's the whole point of it, like being able to turn heads. Because like servant leadership is so controversial to regular leadership in the world that we see today, and I think that is the whole point. Like it's crazy that Jesus would have done that, but it was necessary for Jesus to do that, to demonstrate what servant leadership is.
Because like when he did that, I wrote down on my notes that he like forsaked he was like forsaking all pride, all status that say came with his name, that you wouldn't think like God would do that. Like the son of God would go down to his knees and wash their feet. Like you wouldn't think that, but it shows that he doesn't care about title. He doesn't care about all of the things that come with him. Like he didn't seek acceptance from people, or if I do this, what would these people think? Would they think I'm a better leader? No, he did it out of place of love in his heart and humility.
Totally.
And that's just such a cool thing to see that happen in a story, and just how it can affect you and make you realize that he did that, and it's beautiful that he did that.
Yeah, he just looks at the heart, doesn't he? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so like against the culture as well of the world. Like if you think about today, like a, I don't know, leader in the secular world, like you couldn't imagine them coming, like humbling themselves and just doing like the absolute mundane stuff in their as part of their like team thing. Like you wouldn't see that. You always see like in the secular world to just be keep pushing up and keep moving up, and that's success. But from Christian perspective, the success is humbling ourselves.
Yeah. I also think it's really important the fact that he did it. He didn't say to them, "I need you to wash each other's feet." He got down and started doing it, and I think that's really important, because sometimes it can be easy to think like, oh, it's quite important for everyone to be humble and do these things for each other, but it's difficult to not even say that you have to do it, but just to do it, because I feel like if you're in the position of leadership and you do something, then everyone's like, oh, that's what we do, and they do it as well.
Yeah, so that's
Like,
the culture.
Yeah, like, it sets the culture. Jesus was already on the water when he called Peter out of the boat. He wasn't in the boat saying, "Go, Peter, go step on the water." He was already
really
there.
good. Yeah.
And kind of linking on to what we were talking about earlier, sort of getting involved, sort of going down and discipling, and the importance of trust and creating trust in your team through the people who you work with, your friends. I just want to touch on that with you a bit, Jess, about like, why is trust so important in leadership?
Yeah, so I think trust is like a crucial element within leadership, because in our society today, it's our natural instinct is distrust. I don't know where that changed in history, but it is naturally now just distrust. So as leaders, we need to be able to come across as someone who's honest and who has the best interests of the people we're leading at heart, because trust is led off an emotion, which is where vulnerability comes into, where you are able to get hurt. That's why people these days are so reluctant to trust, because people are scared to be vulnerable because they don't want to get hurt. So I think as leaders, we need to be able to show that we are someone who is able to be reliable and who won't hurt them. And we went to this leadership conference,
Summit.
Global Leadership Summit,
Yes.
Cambridge, lovely
Cambridge.
3-hour drive.
C3.
Oh, yes. Lovely.
And
Shmee.
Shmee. And one of the talks was about trust in leadership, and it spoke about 3 qualities within leadership that are necessary to build trust, and those were transparency, empathy, and consistency. And I remember they made us like stand up in an area where we weren't demonstrating that quality, and I know I knew which one mine was straight away. Mine was transparency. I stood up. I was like,
that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Transparency, yeah.
I think that's quite a difficult one, because to be transparent, you have to be open, vulnerable, which is where trust comes from, and you have to be clear with your intentions, and you just have to be at that point where you're not hiding anything, where the person can trust that you're not withholding anything and you're being honest with them. That's really important. And they were saying that you can have 2 of them, but if you don't have 3 of them, then there's no trust. Like, you need all these 3 to be able to build trust. And consistency, empathy, they're both all really important within leadership. And I know one of the other questions was like power of empathy.
Yeah.
And I think out of leadership, that's one that stands out to me the most, because empathy is the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and to make them feel seen and heard and understood. And I think that's really important, because if as a leader you don't show those qualities, that person isn't going to want to be led by you, and you're not demonstrating that quality
There's a fly.
quality of a leader. So yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, so in Romans 12 and in 1 Corinthians 12, they both talk about how we weep when others weep and we rejoice when others rejoice, because as a church we are one body and we are one member. So if one person, we like join in each other's suffering and rejoicing, and I think that is really important with leading from empathy, because you're able to put yourself in their shoes, you're able to walk with them through their suffering and through their rejoicing. But yeah.
Did you say about having their best interests and
Best
in
interest
heart,
at heart.
and being that person that they could talk to also? Because like you said earlier, people like to be heard, people like to be seen, and if you're not the person who's gonna be there for them in their, say, hardest times, then they may result to something else or turn to something which is like worse. Not saying that we need to be the one they go to, but it's just being mindful that they may be going through a hard time, and if we can't put ourselves, sort of lower ourselves into that situation, or put ourselves into what they're thinking, how are they feeling? If I was in that situation, how would I feel? And being able to really connect with them on that level is so key, because and then they're going to be the one who's going to like come back to you and talk to you more about their problems, and that's how you build the team, like the unity and trust. But yeah, I really like what you said there, Jess.
It says in Colossians 3,
Colossians,
if I can find it.
Colossians.
I love
I
the
love how
sound
Shabby
of
says
like
it.
the pages when you turn a
Colossians.
Bible.
The Golden Bible. That's the Holy
Where
Bible.
is this page? I literally can see the marker for it. Little break while we find it. Sippy sip. Colossians 3, found it. A part of empathy is also compassion, and it says in Colossians 3, it talks about putting on a new self, and how we have to put that on ourselves. But it says, put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility. I said that quite harsh. Compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. And I think when we put on a compassionate heart, when we put on a compassionate heart, that's when we're able to connect with others and build relationships. Because another part of being a good leader is being present. Because I think if you're not present as a leader, then it's very difficult. You'll find it very difficult to build those relationships and connections with people, because there's a big difference between sitting with someone and having a chat with them, but being busy in your mind and not giving them your full attention, compared to being able to sit with someone, give them your full undivided attention, hear them, see them, and be present with them. I remember our 0 to 30s pastor would say that whenever he was preaching in the morning, he'd tell himself to walk slowly as he came through church, because he can easily become busy with what's on his mind, think about what's going on. We can do that in our leadership as well. But if he walks slowly through church and is present through what he's doing, then that just like invites people to him. He's not like, because if you see when someone's really busy and rushed, you don't want to chat to them, because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm in their way. But if you're present, like you're approachable, and you're just, it's easier to connect with people.
That's really good.
I think that comes back to consistency as well.
Yeah.
Because especially if you are preaching, I mean, I'm not a preacher, so I don't have that experience. But if you are preaching, or if you're doing something on stage, but then you're, I don't know, you're being on stage and you're being really open to everyone, but then you're not talking to them off stage. It's like Ecclesiastes 10:10. It's a little bit of folly outweighs a lot of wisdom. Like a fly in ointment. I was just thinking about it because there was a fly landing on Joel. But it's the same thing. If he's preaching, or like say, if this person is preaching that Sunday, and me in the audience, I have something I really need to tell him, but I couldn't see him the whole of the morning, and then I see him on stage, the whole time I'm going to be thinking about, I don't know, maybe that's a really bad example, but it's about the consistency, and how if you're displaying yourself in one way on stage,
Mhm.
then people are going to not stop watching you when you leave the stage. I think that's something that I realized, is that, especially being like a youth leader, you're on stage playing, but then you notice that they're also watching you when you're not on stage.
That's just integrity,
Yeah.
though. Like, consistency is integrity and reliability. Because if you're not integral with your actions, then people will be able to see that quite clearly.
It just doesn't like make you want to be led by them either. Like
Yeah.
if you see them on stage and they're like worshipping or preaching or whatever, and you see them off stage being a completely different person,
Mm-hmm.
like that's just not nice to see.
Yeah.
And you can't see their heart, you can't see Jesus in that. And it's really important to have integrity, to be the same on and off stage, leading or not leading, just like being genuine as well, very important as well. Yeah.
Because like people like authenticity, like
Yeah,
they want to
authentic,
like see like who you are, because so often we could just put on, say, a mask and be like, this is my stage mask, or like this is when I'm alone, I'm like this here, which can be fine, like normally, say, like introverted at home, extroverted outside, like it's just normal for some people. But it's just staying, like you said, consistent with how you act on stage, off stage, in front of people, away from people. Sorry, you're just
Sorry, the fly was just hovering, and it's all
I
I
thought
could
you were just
concentrate
grinning
on.
at Archie really hard.